So there's a seller that once put forth $40,000 into a brand new kitchen right before listing. So it had the granite countertops, the new cabinets, the top of the line appliances. Look, it had it all. It was beautiful. But the rest of the house, that had the original carpet from 2006. It had dated bathrooms and worn fixtures. Do you know what the buyers that came through actually said? It didn't make sense. The kitchen was amazing, but it felt disconnected from the rest of the house. They ended up selling, the sellers that is, for barely more than if they had done nothing. I get questions like this all the time. Like, how do we optimize the dollars that we have at hand? And real estate is a big part of that. And so I'm going to read a question that I just got. And specifically, it was Weldon. We're getting ready to sell our home after 18 years. The house is in decent shape, but it's dated. The kitchen cabinets, they're worn, the carpets show age, and the bathrooms could absolutely use updating. What we've got is maybe $20,000 that we could put towards repairs. But I keep hearing conflicting advice. Some say update everything, others say sell as is. What should we actually fix before we list the house? Like the beautiful part about this question is that they're one, being proactive. You know, I love that. Two, we all have limited resources. So, how do we maximize that? Well, I'm here to say you maximize it based on your goals. So, that $20,000, that 18 years of life in that home, that's the exact situation where people make very expensive mistakes. So, again, great question. And here's what I want you to understand when we listen to that. The goal, though, is not to have the nicest house on the market. The goal is to get the best return for your situation. That $40,000 kitchen, that probably returned $25,000. That's a $15,000 loss before a moving truck ever showed up and they didn't even get to enjoy it. So today, I'm going to walk you through what not to fix when you're selling your home and what to focus on instead. Because when you repair and you invest based on your actual sales goals, you keep more money in your pocket. You're more purposeful and you're more prepared for that next chapter. So, the first point that we want to go into is don't do the full kitchen remodel. That is the biggest money pit that I see sellers fall into, especially if you're just trying to get it ready to put on the market. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always exceptions, but this is for the most part. The full kitchen remodels, they run anywhere from $30 to $75,000 more depending on the fixtures and the appliances, but that also depends on your market. The national average return for that investment, it's actually about 75%. So for every dollar that you put into it, you're only getting 75 cents back. So let's say you spend $50,000 on a new kitchen, you might see around $37,500 to be exact, but it come back to you when you get to the closing table. That's a $12,500 loss. Who wants that? Nobody. Here's what actually works. A new kitchen facelift. Think new cabinet hardware, fresh paint on the cabinets or the walls, updated light fixtures, maybe a new faucet. Total cost $800 to $2,000. And buyers see a refreshed space without the price tag. So I want you to think about it this way. That $50,000 that you didn't spend on the kitchen, that's your down payment on your next home, your moving fund, or 6 months of financial cushion during your transition. Your wealth is better served by keeping that money than rather than sinking it into the countertops that you're never going to enjoy. Point two, don't do a full bathroom remodel. The same logic applies here. So a full bathroom gut, that's going to run you $24,000 to $40,000 with a return around 70%. You're losing 30 cents on every dollar. Instead, here's the $300 bathroom refresh that sells homes. So new toilet seat, updated towel bars and hardware, fresh caulk around the tub and sink, a new mirror if the old one is dated, and then deep clean the grout or use grout paint. Like that grout one, that's a major one. You don't want to turn off buyers because it appears things are darker. They might mistake it for the M word, mold. Now, if the bathtub is worn out but functional, consider just reglazing it. That's around $500 compared to $3,000 for a new tub. Buyers can't tell the difference. The question isn't, does this bathroom look brand new? The question is, does this bathroom feel clean and functional? If the answer is yes, you've done enough. Now, here's a quick question for you. Do you know what your home is actually worth right now and what repairs would actually move that number? Because here's what I found by helping people through these transitions: the disconnect between life decisions, financial strategy, and real estate execution costs people $50,000 in completely avoidable mistakes. You have different professionals, different advice, nobody connecting the dots. I offer a free 30-minute transition strategy call. We figure out what's actually happening in your life. We're going to make sure that you're financially prepared and that if real estate is part of your transition as well, you're going to understand exactly how to approach it. You're going to leave with actionable next steps tailored to your situation. Never forget that good decisions in your life, the way you keep more money in your pocket, is to start with good information. Link is in the description below. Go to my Calendly. I'd love to talk to you. So back to what not to fix. In point 3, we're going to talk about don't replace the roof unless it's actively failing. So this one trips people up because it feels like a major selling point. A new roof, right? Who wouldn't be surprised or, excited? Well, buyers, they love it, but it's not why they buy the house. The reality is, a new roof costs $8,000 to $15,000 depending on your home size, and that's if you're lucky. Most of them are, more than that. But the return, it's about 60%. So you're leaving 40 cents on the table every time, or for every dollar that you spend. Unless your roof is actively leaking or missing shingles or has visible damage that it's going to fail an inspection, don't replace it before listing. There is a strategy that you can do instead. So if a buyer asks for a roof credit during negotiations, you can offer that credit or a price reduction. Let's just say they want $10,000 for a new roof. You might agree to $5,000 and give them that in credit at the closing table. That's still less than what you would have spent replacing it yourself. And the buyer, they get to choose their own contractor, their own materials, and their own headache. Now, this is the real estate strategy piece. So in negotiations, you have leverage. Before listing, you're just spending the money hoping it comes back. Now that brings me to point 4, which is don't replace all the flooring. So new flooring throughout a home, that can run $12,000 to $15,000, probably more, depending on where you live, right? And here's the thing: buyers often want to choose their own flooring anyway. Your taste might not be their taste. Instead, try this approach. Step 1, which would be get your carpets professionally cleaned. That's $2, $3, $4, $500 or so, depending on where you're at, and that can make it look years younger. And then step 2, if there are hardwood floors underneath the carpet, consider exposing them. Even worn hardwood floors look better than dated carpet. In step 3, or the third step of this process that you would think about, only replace flooring in high traffic areas where it's genuinely damaged, not just showing wear. Think about what your time is worth during this transition. Coordinating the flooring replacement takes days or weeks, and that's time that you could actually be spending finding your next home, organizing the move, or handling the life priorities that we all have. Sometimes the best renovation is no renovation at all. Okay, if you've made it this far, you're already thinking smarter than 90% of sellers I talk to. Most people, they are so focused on making their house look perfect that they forget the goal is to maximize what they keep, not what they spend. The next 2 points are where people waste the most money for the least return. So stay with me. Point 5, don't do major landscaping. Curb appeal matters, absolutely. I'm not saying ignore your yard by any stretch, but there's a huge difference between maintaining what you have and transforming what you have. Major landscaping projects, think new sod, mature trees, like new features that you're putting in, irrigation systems. These run $5,000 to $15,000 easily, but the return, maybe 50, 60%. Buyers don't pay extra for landscaping the way the sellers think that they will. But what actually works, it's the basics. Mow the lawn, edge everything, trim the bushes, pull the weeds. Add fresh mulch for a few $100s into all your flower beds. Clean the driveway with a pressure washer. These take a weekend to knock out and cost under $500. Then, if you consider putting one pot of flowers by the front door, a clean new welcome mat, that is curb appeal. That is what you need. So, at this point, you might be noticing a pattern. Buyers care more about consistency than perfection. I want you to drop a comment in the comments below about what's the most unnecessary upgrade that you've ever seen a seller make. And I'm genuinely curious about what you've seen because I've seen some, but I know you've seen more. All right, one more thing not to fix. Point six, don't replace doors, windows, or window coverings. Windows are expensive, like really expensive. Replacing windows throughout an entire home, that can run $10,000, $20,000 easily. And the return on investment there, that's about 68%. Not terrible, but you're still losing over $3,000 on every $10,000 spent. So unless the windows are actually broken or they're fogged between the panes or they're just genuinely failing, like I'm not sure it makes sense to do that. And I would say leave them alone. Same with interior doors. A fresh coat of paint on doors that costs $20 versus a new door costs $200 to $400 plus installation. And the window coverings. Don't even think about it. Buyers almost always want to choose their own curtains. The day that you leave, they're going to rip those out anyway. Remember, buyers are looking for a cohesive, clean, functional home, not perfection. If your windows let light in and your doors open and they close, you're doing pretty darn well. Now, here's a bonus, and these are two things that actually matter that we need to dive into. I told you what not to do, but here's what you absolutely should do, and it costs almost nothing. Number one, that is to declutter ruthlessly. I mean, ruthlessly. Pack up anything you don't use daily. Rent a storage unit if you have to. Clear out the closets. You want to show space, not stuff. Remove the personal photos so that way buyers can imagine themselves there in that space. Less furniture, that makes rooms look and feel bigger. I want to tell you something. A cluttered home, that is going to feel smaller. It's going to feel darker and it's going to feel less valuable. A decluttered home, though, that gives the feeling of spaciousness because it is spacious. It's brighter and it's move-in ready. Same house, $0 spent, completely different buyer perception. Number two, deep clean everything. And I mean everything. Baseboards, light switches, inside cabinets, behind the toilet, ceiling fans, window tracks. If a buyer opens a cabinet door and sees grime, they wonder what else wasn't maintained. Hire a professional deep clean service if you can. That's $300 to $500 or spend a weekend doing it yourself. Either way, this is the highest return activity you can do before listing. Declutter and deep clean. $0 or close to it. Maximum impact on buyer perception. That is the formula. We went over a lot today, and it's a lot to remember. So what I recommend is add this to your watch later playlist. So that way you can come back here when you're actually getting ready to list. And these numbers, you can go back over them, everything that we talked about. So that way you're better informed. But at the end of the day, here's the key takeaway. Repair and invest based on your sales goals, not your ego. The goal isn't the nicest house on the block. The goal is keeping the most money for your next chapter. So whether that's a new home or a fresh start, financial flexibility during your transition, whatever it may be. But here's the thing, every home, it's different. And what makes sense for your situation depends on your market, your timeline, and your goals. If you need an expert opinion on what actually makes sense to fix or skip, ask your real estate professional. They should know your local market well enough to give you specific guidance. And if you don't have a real estate professional yet in your corner, or you're not sure if the one that you have is actually giving you strategic advice, that's where I help. I connect people with professionals tailor-made for their situation. And that's whether you're in here in Colorado Springs or anywhere in the country. It's about finding someone who complements your overall life strategy, not just someone who wants to list your house. If you're navigating a home sale as part of a bigger life transition, Let me tell you how I can help. I help you, I help others, I help you figure out what's actually happening in your life. And we identify the challenges that you're facing and separate facts from assumptions. And then I make sure that you're financially prepared for the gotchas before the gotchas get you. And if that's your case, that is what I do on a daily basis. And if real estate is part of your transition, you'll understand exactly how it fits into your overall strategy. Then I connect you with professionals who can see it all come together. And that's whether a CPA for tax strategy, an estate attorney for legal structures, or a certified financial planner for long term wealth, or when it's time, a real estate professional tailor made for your situation. And here in Colorado Springs, my team handles that directly. But nationwide, I connect you with someone from my trusted network. Now, what I recommend to you is book a free 30 minutes transition strategy call. We're going to connect the dots between your life, your finances, and your real estate decisions. And you leave with actionable next steps that are tailored to your life. Go to askweldonhobbs.com or look in the caption below. And don't forget, good decisions, they start with good information. I'm Weldon Hobbs, transition strategist, certified financial coach, project management professional, and real estate professional. Every day, I help people across the country connect their life goals, their finances, and when it applies, their real estate decisions. Subscribe for new content every single week. And remember, good decisions start with good information. Thanks for watching and look forward to seeing you in the next one.